Hey everyone, I'm Maria Horner and welcome to another episode of Howlands at Home. I'm in my front yard now, my front door, and today I'm joined by Liz Adams. Hey Liz, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Currently, I'm right now in Utah at my parents' home, and I'm in my mom's office at the moment. So
Nice. You know, first of all, we don't want to assume that everybody who's watching knows who you are. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and share your favorite camp appropriate joke with us.
Okay. So my name's Liz Adams, and so last year was my first year at camp, and I was a girls' cabin counselor, and I will be coming to camp again this year as a girls' cabin counselor. I'm from Utah, born and raised. I grew up doing ballet, eventually did it professionally. Year and a half, came home, got into school again, and so now I'm studying design and Chinese.
Nice. Awesome. So how are you staying busy during this time of quarantine? What are you doing to stay busy?
I've been doing a bit of schoolwork, but in addition to that, I've actually started painting a lot more. I used to love painting, especially like watercolor and stuff. So I've been painting, and then I've even found myself painting like on some of my like some things that I own. Like I'm painting on my ukulele. Also, like I just go out in my backyard and like hang out. And I recently, actually today, I got a crash pad, so I can go outdoor climbing, like where it's permitted and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
That's awesome. Oh, I totally forgot. What's your joke?
Oh, my joke. So what do you call 4 bullfighters in quicksand?
I don't know, Liz. What do you call 4 bullfighters in quicksand?
Cuatro cinco.
I hope that somebody's writing all of these down as we're collecting them because they're really, really good. Oh my
They're good. They're very good.
So last summer was your first summer at camp. Tell us, how did you find out about camp? What sort of brought you to us?
So I had a friend, her name's Olive, and it was interesting because her boyfriend at the time, I think he would always come to camp. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I noticed that she was like, hey guys, like I'm leaving to Catalina Island. I'm going to be gone for the summer. I was like, huh? It's like, that's really cool. So I messaged her about it and I was like, hey, like, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, I'm going, like, it's kind of a spur of the moment, but I'm going and I'm going to be a girls' cabin counselor at this summer camp for kids. And I thought, that's so cool. Like, I want to do something like that. And then when she got back, she like kind of made a little video montage of like awesome. Of things that she had done. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So after I lived in Japan, it's funny because people would ask me, they're like, what do you want to do when you get home? And I was like, I want to work at this summer camp. And so when I got home, I messaged her and I said, hey, like, I'm home from Japan. Like, how can I get into the summer camp? She goes, perfect. You messaged me. They just opened registration today. And so that's when I like was like, okay, here we go. And then I just went full force, like put in all my like application, everything like that.
That's awesome. So when you think back to last summer, what are some of your favorite memories of your time at camp last summer?
It's kind of a difficult question, but there were so many good memories. Probably one of my favorites, I think it was the last week, and it's when so initially I'd had all of the older kids, and then the very last week I got the little babies, mm-hmm. and they were so cute. But there's this really cool experience where one of the campers, she had this really hard time of like wanting to get into the water, but eventually we were able to help her like learn that the ocean was fun and that it was like pretty, and then she got to see like all these shells, and she was like standing there and she was like, Liz, I'm scared. And I was like, I know, me too. And she was like, wait. And then and then she was like, but I want to see underwater. And I was like, same, should we? And she's like, and then we both went underwater, and then she came up and she like started clapping her hands and was just so happy that she got to see like what all the other girls were enjoying.
No, it's always awesome. I'm always struck by the number of kids who come to camp and haven't really spent any time in the ocean. You're like, how many kids we're actually introducing to being underwater
Yeah.
in salt water. And so it's really cool when kids who are nervous about it overcome those fears with the help of their counselors and actually are able to experience it. That's awesome. So I know that kids learn a lot when they're at camp in the summer. What kinds of things do you feel like you learned at camp last summer?
I feel like this has kind of been a continual process, but I feel like last summer I really learned like how to be myself more.
Mm.
And it's almost like I learned how to be myself without certain like necessities or like a certain environment that I was used to. So it was like really like a raw experience to like completely be myself without necessarily my cell phone, like any form of really technology, or even in like a school setting or your average like workplace setting.
I'm just curious if you could talk a little more about what it's like to be without your cell phone and to not have any technology for the time that you're at camp.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we went through staff training, I think we had like it was like a 48 hour time period. And at first I was kind of like, I wonder if I can do this. And like, I wasn't like, oh, like, don't take away from my phone. I was kind of like preparing for the challenge. Like, I'm not going to have my phone. Like, let's see how this goes. And it's funny because after I turned it in and I didn't have it, and then time went so fast. And then all of a sudden they're like, actually, we're going to give you guys your phones back now. It's been the full time. And I was like, I don't want it. Like, please keep my phone. I don't really need it. So it's actually very refreshing not to have it and not to have that constant, like, you need to like rely on it, because like being on Catalina Island and at Howlands, you really don't need it. Like, especially with the people you're around, and investing in that type of activity is so much more valuable.
Yeah, I a lot of staff and even the older kids who I always ask, like, our teenage campers, what's it like to be without your phone? And honestly, I mean, I can think of one kid in the last 5 years that I've been asking that question. I can think of one camper and only one who said that they still really missed it. Most of them say the same thing. They say it's really hard at first, and then you get really used to it, and then you forget that you used to have a phone. And then when it's time to go home, you start to realize how much you learned about yourself and about the people that you're with when you're relying on your phone as a time and space filler. Like, when you don't have your phone, if there's nothing to do, you can't just pick up your phone and start scrolling through Instagram. You got to actually talk to the people sitting next to you. And there's just so much value in that. That's awesome. So what are you looking forward to this summer?
I'm really excited to come back, and just like I like keep looking forward to it and keep thinking about it. I think what I'm most excited for is to just meet new people that are coming in, and like new campers that are coming in, and new staff, but then also continue the relationships with the people that I met from last year, and then like strengthening that and like creating like a whole nother family unit. I think that'll be really exciting, and that's what I'm excited for.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've asked everyone who comes on Howlands at Home to be prepared to sing a camp song for us, so that we all get a little bit of camp song in our lives. So tell us what you're going to sing.
So I'm going to sing the Aardvark song. And the reason I chose this one is because, so last year was my first year in like all these songs, and like I had never really been to a camp before. So like all these were super new. And I remember like my first session, my campers ended up teaching me this song, because they're like, Liz, we have flag, like we need to sing a song. I was like, what does that mean? And so they're like, okay, we're going to teach you this one. It's pretty simple. And I remember getting it and feeling so proud of myself. So this is the one I'm going to sing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Here we go. Aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks are my aardvarks are my friends, aardvarks, aardvarks are my friends. I think I messed it up, but
that's perfect. No, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's the one.
So one of the things that I'm hoping that happens as a result of doing a bunch of these is that kids will have the chance to learn some songs before they even come to
Yeah,
camp. And maybe even some new staff will too, so they'll have a few songs to sing at Flag with their kids.
for
That's
sure,
awesome.
for sure.
Most of our kids, almost all of our kids right now are sitting at home, like they're quarantined, they're having to do school online, they're not able to go out and see their friends. What kind of advice would you have for them to help them get through this kind of challenging time?
I've actually been doing like some of these things to kind of help maintain my sanity. But what I've been doing is like I keep communicating with my friends. And I love doing like FaceTime and stuff like that. Like this week alone, I've probably had like 12 plus FaceTime calls, and like I'm not always the one to initiate them. Like I even got one from Mish, and she was like, hey, I'm going to create a Zoom chat like with a bunch of the staff and like some friends, and we're all just going to talk about things. And so like we were able to all talk, and that was really nice. And just kind of talk about what we're doing, or like if we're like on TikTok or something like that. And then in addition to that, I think it's fun to kind of like add elements from camp back into like this time now. So I like kind of like an arts and crafts manner, like I'm actually probably going to do a hair wrap. And then I was even thinking too, like of having like pen pals. So like writing people letters or stuff like that, even taking like pictures and then like sending it. So it's like a little bit more involved and exciting, and like movies or books or things like that.
That's awesome. Okay, so as you know, every day at lunch we write a quote on the little chalkboard outside of the dining area. So what's a quote that you would love to see on our quote board this summer?
Ooh, I have a favorite movie. It's Good Will Hunting. I don't know. Yeah, so it's one of my favorites. And there's a quote, and what it says, I'm looking at it right now, that's why my eyes are over here, but so he says, we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds. And then it kind of goes on to say, that's the part that I really like, but then it kind of goes on to say, like, you're not perfect. He's like, you're not perfect, sport. Now you can know everything in the world, sport, but the only way you're finding out the one is by giving it a shot. And so I really like we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds, because like if you think about it, we're all very unique, and like especially like coming to camp and things like that, like we all come from very different places, very different backgrounds, like we're all very different people, but we do get to choose to go to camp. And so that's something that we get to have everyone who's in like camp be a part of our world. So it becomes like more of a community. And that's why I really like that, is because it's like we're all kind of funky people, but when we let people in, it just makes it better.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, thanks, Liz, for being with us here today. I hope that everything is good in Utah, and I look forward to seeing you this summer.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.